deadly white amanita over there, and then they die. I mean, a family of 5 just died a couple of years ago. But, so it's the only species that has the cup, and they're real tiny. And they grow on wood. So amanitas do not grow on wood. They're mycorrhizal with trees. Amanitas only grow on the ground. So if it's growing on wood with a cup, you can eat it. So if you pay attention to these little details, you won't kill yourself.
In your listing of families here, it doesn't have bulbularia, the one you just showed?
Well, that's because it's in the Pluteaceae family. It's a general within the Pluteaceae. Yeah. So this is just the families. I mean, each one has hundreds of genera within it. But if you, let's say you found one of these little Volvariellas guys, you would know that it had free gills, and so you go to your book, and then the book would tell you all the different genera, and then you can find it. Easy. And then we'll talk about books later. Now the dark spore families are definitely the hardest to do. But again, you can do it, just takes time. The Agaricacea are the ones that we eat. They're the store-bought mushroom. And they have brown spores that grow on the ground. The Bulbitaceae are little things that are not worth eating. I'll show you a picture of them. And they grow on dung. Cortinarias, there's lots of cortinarias in the forest. They're mycorrhizal with trees. They're all over the place, and almost all of them are poisonous except one. And I didn't find it to be remarkable. So, and the Paxillus have light brown spores. Strophaceae have purple brown. Coprinus have black, and Gomphidius have black. So when you do the spore print, then you'll know which family it's in. Then you go to the mushroom book to that family, and you'll probably find it. And the best book that I like, because for beginners particularly, the Peterson's Guide to Mushrooms, why I like it for beginners is because once you've done your spore print and you know which family to go to, you go right to the page of that family, whatever it is. Anyway, it has all the genera that are similar within that same family on the same page or a couple of pages. So once you do your spore print and you know, then you just look and see what it looks like.
What family is the Boletus in?
It's Boletaceae. It's not a gilled fungus, so I didn't talk about it today. Yeah, it's a whole different ballgame. Yeah, but so I'm just going to talk about the gilled ones today.
Yeah.
But it's a good little book, you know, the Peterson's Field Guide. And then the Bible of all mushrooms is Mushrooms Demystified. This has thousands of different species in it. And so Peterson's is only going to have the most common mushrooms that you see around. But this, and it doesn't have very good pictures, but it's got fabulous keys, and it asks you questions. Does the site break like chalk? You know, is there a ring? You know, so once you go to family, then it's laborious task to go through it, but it's a wonderful book if you ever really get really into it. So Mushrooms Demystified by David Aurora. And then Dr. Miller here in McCall has made a mushroom since he's very biased and loves McCalls. Lots of McCall mushrooms are in here. And this is by Dr. Miller, who died recently, but Mushrooms of North America by Hope and Orson Miller.
That's his newest book, right?
This is the newest book.
Yeah.
And it's really good. It's by spore print at the top. It's got the boletes. It's got everything.
He took a lot of those pictures in the park.
Yep.
Yeah, because he was here taking it when we were.
Yeah, fabulous. Yeah, just an
It was
absolute
just a
incredible
fabulous
guy.
fall that we just had.
Lots of mushrooms.
We
Yeah.
got stuff that we've never seen again.
You know, our club, even though we've been doing this almost 30 years, almost every year we find something we've never seen.
Yeah. That year we
Depends
found so
on
many
the,
things
you
that
know,
we've never seen before.
Yeah,
I
the
don't think we've seen
conditions,
since.
it's just
Even-
amazing.
It was just a really rainy,
Right.
warm fall, and they just were all over.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Well, this is a fabulous book, and this is available at the drugstore, of course. So this is good. And my club sells, I only have 2 left, and then that's it. But this is just a quick reference little guide. They're $5. It has all just common mushrooms, the deadly ones. It's just a picture thing. So if you're interested, it's $5, and I have 2 left. And then I have information on our mushroom club if you have any interest in joining. So afterwards, that's just a little propaganda. Okay, so now we've finished the dark sport. Let's take a look at some of the dark sport mushrooms. So the agaricus, these are the store-bought cousins, the wild cousin. Its gills are free. If you look really closely, they don't touch. It's got a ring. They're great to eat. And even though they have pink gills, they're going to have a brown spore print. Doesn't last long. Comes up in your yard after a rain, the bulbitaceae, and it's got a yellowish brown spore print. Now the cortinarius, even though you don't see the cortina, the cobwebby stuff that I showed you on the other one, you can see when the cap expanded, it broke, and then this cobwebby stuff's on the stipe. And none of them are edible. They're not worth it. And you can, and sometimes the spores will drop off the gills. They're produced on the edge of the gills, and they'll drop off onto the stipe. So you can see the rusty brown spore prints on the stipe on that one. And also, you can see if you pick a mushroom off the forest floor, sometimes the spores will drop onto the leaf litter. So you can see what color the spores are too. That would be a good picture too. Okay. Okay, and here's one where the stipe is off center. See, it's not exactly in the center of the mushroom. And it's got a light brown spore print, so that's easy to identify. And even though the gills look black, if you did a spore print, it will be purple-brown, and you will definitely see a purple hint to the brown, just like in the pictures I showed you earlier. And it's got a partial veil. It's starting to fall apart, but no cup or volva on the base. Whitish gills, but again we'll have a purple-brown spore print. And Paniolus has a black spore print. Gomphidius has a black spore print, and these are really good to eat, actually. And they're all over the place in Bear Basin. Now, all the Gomphidius and the Sulis, which I'm not going to talk about belite kind of ones today, but this slimy cap, you can peel it off super easy. You just take a little knife and it just kind of comes off. And then you cook them and they're good. I like them. I think they're as good as the store-bought mushrooms, if not better. But once you know the deadly Amanita species, you know, then you can kind of experiment a little. Now, the mushroom quiz is going to take a while, so maybe this would be the time to take a break. Okay. All right, guys. Hope you never go into the forest the same. You look down and appreciate these little guys who look at your feet.
It's in the back.
All right, old girl, let's get you up.
He's like, hey, yeah.
Unhopping, just go out into the forest and roam around.
I'd be interested in one of these, but I don't want to fight for it.
Oh, well, just take, yeah, just $5, just grab one, that's what they're for.
I'm leaving.
And
There's somewhere.
I don't know where you can get them, it's, I took a bunch of them, and then we sold all of those too.
Okay, let's go outside you. Oh, in the car.
Okay, all right.
Oh, to Hazelton.
And the Forest Service might have it for sale too, I mean, I don't know.
Hazelton.
Yeah, do they have
They have nothing except CD.
a CD? Which I think
It's
that's
nice, you guys can get snacks.
It will. That's what they have.
Water.
Why are the morels so much more popular?
Well,
Slot
they're
here?
so
Oh, yeah,
darn good to
DVD
eat.
it says, so
Is
yeah,
that the-
keep
that's
going.
the base?
Yeah,
Hi.
they're
Hi there, how are
just,
you?
they have
Good.
such
I
a
thought we had
fabulous
sold.
flavor.
Somebody didn't start.
And a lot
buying.
of these beautiful mushrooms aren't good to eat, so people, I think most people join my mushroom club because they want to know which
Greg,
ones are
I'm so
Mm-hmm.
recovered from
But
that.
there's so much more to them than that, you know?
I used to do, we used to do mushrooms a lot, we do pork ran too.
Well,
We'd eat,
Tyler only had
I
Sundays,
probably
so.
shouldn't have. And the only time we ever got sick, but we didn't ever get sick like that, we just passed out and slept for 4 hours.
Wow,
Or
You have these,
an hour.
yeah, whatever, yeah.
Well, I don't know what that was, but it'd been a great sleeping
Yes.
medication.
Yeah.
But I don't remember, it was so long ago. That kind of scared me. And
Oh,
even
yeah.
though I did word print, I probably didn't.
You identify it correctly.
Yeah, so I have a whole, well, I have Miller's old book.
Oh, yes.
Are they in the
And
family?
his jumper built this thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so the family's right here. We have real pictures.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the drawings depict it at different stages of development. One mushroom when it's young is gonna look a lot different when it's grown up.
Yeah, that's, especially ones that change color. She's getting her little
All
car.
right, pictures. Oh, I'm all
Yeah, but it's fun. That's why I have a
Oh,
million
it's like
pictures.
kind of.
Absolutely. It's an excuse to be outside in the woods, and it's fun.
We always take notes, but
I need
it's
this
so
one.
nice.
Every single time.
Pick one and take it home.
Okay, no, no.
Oh,
What do you get?
I guess it was young.
No.
Piece of that.
Just any kind, anything you can fit between.
Your son's taking you back to Colorado?
Right.
Yes, I don't have a hard hat on. He's a contractor.
They were dropping by the thousands whenever they feel like it's.
Yeah, that was kind of torture. Come and go.
Yeah. I know, gotta get that brain.
Has an apartment from Marjorie County. I were hiking in desert here.
My initial thought was.
Now, this,
So
now.
expensive
2 days
living
ago.
Oh,
around.
fabulous.
You know,
That's
what,
pretty low. That's a lot lower than the car.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's mossy, and
Mhm.
It was good.
that whole shade, which they like.
Yeah.
I was usually start down like, Goose Creek or something, just get a little
Yeah,
lower
I
than
mean,
the call.
the
Yeah.
class. And
I don't know, I
just
think
walked
it's
in
open. I mean, I
after
think
They
it's
were
still
just at 9 o'clock. I mean.
Oh, maybe not Goose Creek,
Last
A lady, Nicole Gray, developed this in the Northern Idaho Club. There used to be 2 Idaho clubs, but she died 15 years ago. So I've stolen her stuff and adjusted it a whole bunch. And I'm sure she would love that someone's using her stuff, so.
At least you got her name on it.
Yeah, I gave her credit, even though it doesn't look much like it did originally, but that's okay. So just again, let's just go over it page by page. So you get the fruiting body on the first page, and it's the same as the drawing that you have in the other handout. But just to review the terms, the gills and the stem and stipe and all that stuff. And then on the right side, you have the different kinds of caps. Because the book will ask you, if you get a book that has keys in it, it'll say, does the mushroom have a conical cap or a bell-shaped cap? And then you go to a different part of the key to help identify which species it is. So these are just examples for you to have of the different kind of caps and what they look like. Are they umboning? They have a little umbo, the second line down on the left, it's got a little hump. That's characteristic of particular families. And are they upturned? And are the surfaces smooth or velvety or hairy? Or now the raised scales. Now on the bottom, let's talk about this a little bit. It's got with raised scales on the left, and then it's got patches on the right. Okay, you see what I'm talking about on the caps? On the left, the ones with the scales is like Lepiotas have scales, and they look like the patches on the Amanita, but they're not. They're not removable. Scales are like little carvings or cuts in the cap. They're permanently part of the cap. So just, you know, you might think it might be an Amanita, but if you can't remove them and flick them off, they're not part of that universal covering that used to be on them. So scales are permanent, and they're just like little cuts. So that's different caps. And then the gills, how close are they? You know, remember I showed you the hygrophorus where they're real thick and waxy like the one on the right? You know, they're real far apart. Are the gills close? Or are they really crowded? And on the right side is the stipe. In the middle, is it off center or is there none? Like the little picture, like all the pluteus and oyster mushrooms don't even have a stipe or a little one. And then how the gills are attached. I've only told you the free gills where they're not attached at all. But there's all different kinds of attachments, but don't worry about that for right now. And then the stipes, do they have a ring on them? Is it in the center? What kind of stipe does it have? So it shows you all the different kinds of stipes, and then the shape of the stipe at the bottom. Most mushrooms are kind of straight like the one on the left. Some are kind of club-footed or bulbous. The Boletus edulis, the bulb is, the base is usually huge. It's not proportional to the cap at all. It's really big and bulbous. So each mushroom is different. And does it go way into the ground, or when you take it out of the ground, does it have a whole bunch of rhizomorphs, which is the mycelium on the bottom right? So these are just things for your reference for some time or other. And this is how you use these keys that I've made. First of all, you have to do a spore print. That's the beginning. You always have to figure out what spore print. Then it leads you again right to the families. So if it's a white spore, you go to the white spored family, you figure it out, pink or the dark ones. So that's all that's saying. If it's white, go to key 1, etc. And when you collect mushrooms, make sure you get the entire base out of the ground. There's one that looks very much like, it's called Agaricus campestris. It's the cousin of the store-bought mushroom, and they're good to eat. But there's one that at the very base, if you cut it in half, it turns bright yellow, and you will throw up for days. And it looks just like the store-bought one. And has all the same characteristics, pink gills, brown spore print, but it turns yellow at the base. So it's always make sure you dig the whole mushroom out of the ground when you get it. And you try to get mushrooms in different stages of development. If you see a clump of them together, I usually pick 3. A young one, an old one, and a good one. So we used a good one for the mushroom table to show people. And the one that's all messed up, I might take a slice and look under the microscope or tear it apart, see if it has staining characteristics or whatever. So one to tear apart, one to look pretty, and just to see different stages of development.
So, if you get the same mushroom, all different ages, no matter what the age, the spore color is going to be the same?
Yep,
Okay.
yep, absolutely.
So you don't have to leave a mushroom
You know,
for the family.
yeah, and that's a misnomer, I
It is a
think,
misnomer.
especially when people are picking morels. They go, well, I left a couple for the spores for later, but they, you know, the spores, your mushrooms pour off thousands of spores. If you dry morels on your dryer, I mean, that poor dryer is gonna be caked with the things. So I take it outside, rinse it off and try to get them back into the ground. But the mycelium, what's important is the underground part of the mushroom. That's the root system, the mycelium. If it's let's say you go to the same place where you find morels every year and every year and every year, and they're not burn morels, which only come up for 1 year. They're the natural ones that will be there providing the conditions are right every year. And then they do a clear cut, and the soil dries out, and it changes. You may never see them again. But normally they will be there every year when the conditions are right. Morels, for some reason, after a burn, and I've asked the top mycologists in the world about this, and nobody knows why they come up after a fire. You know, they think it's their last hurrah, and they fruit in abundance after a fire. Something triggers that fruiting of morels after a fire, but it's only the first spring. Then after that, they're gone. Maybe they think the fire's killed all the trees. If I'm going to get my spores out, now's the time. And who knows, in maybe 15 years, if trees go back, the spores will be in the ground, but I don't know.
So the cutting, what, is it a myth about cutting morels right at the surface of the ground as opposed to pulling the whole thing out? People get upset when you pull
It's
out.
not going to hurt anything, providing the ground's not disturbed. If I take a giant mushroom out of the ground, I'll just take my foot and stamp the dirt back in, so that the mycelium doesn't dry out. But, you know, it's like picking an apple from a tree. If you don't disturb, cut the tree down, if you just take the apple off, it's not going to do anything. So as long as the mycelium, the root network underground isn't disturbed, the mushrooms will be coming back whenever they feel like it, basically. So this kind of just shows you, note the cap size, the gill attachment, the stipe, does it have a ring or not, is it sturdy or fragile, and what does it smell like? Okay, so let's do our first mushroom. Now I have to give you a hint because we can't do a spore print, so I'm going to tell you the spore print color. Now let's go to the first page. So how this thing works is key 1 is white spores, okay? Now, and key 2 is also white spores or light colored spores. And then as you go to the different keys, you're going to have different colors. So key 3 is the pink spores, key 4 is the pale brown, then you go to dark brown and black and all that, okay? So that's how the key works. It always starts with the spore. So let's figure out what this is. So I'll give you some hints here. Okay, it's got white spores, so then you know it's on the first page somewhere, okay? So you always start at the left of the key, and you ask yourself the first question. Is a vulva present? No, it's a straight stalk, so don't even bother reading the rest of it. And it sure doesn't look like an amanita. Okay, so you go to the next one. No vulva. Nope, that's right. The gill's free from the stalk. Nope, they're attached. So don't bother reading the rest of that one. Okay, gills attached to the stalk in some way. Okay, they are. You can see they come right up to the stalk. So read the first thing here. Gills, I should say gills thick and waxy. I'll change that too.
It does say that.
It does on the top.
Oh, it does underneath, okay. I should compare it with the gills thinner though. I should make a thing over here. So under hygrophorus you read it, cap medium to large, usually white or dull colored, gills thick, waxy, translucent, you can't really tell there, not all of them are. Gills spaced far apart,
Yes.
they're very far apart, and the stipe is large and sturdy and has no ring.
Yes.
Presto, hygrophorus. So that's pretty easy. And within the hygrophora ACE, there is hygrossa B, which is a little guy at the bottom, and the cap is always bright colored. It can be purple or red or yellow or orange or something. But the hygrossa B and the bottom always have a bright colored cap, and the hygrophorus are dull colored. So that's a hygrophorus. Now you want to know which species. You've got it to genus, but you have to go to one of the other books to get the species. You can't, this only gets you to genus. So, I mean, there's, a million mushrooms, so I can't do all the species on this thing. So this just gets you to genus. But that's pretty doggone good. And then you can look at the books under the hygrophorus. family and see if you see something like it. So let's go to the hygrophorus page and see if we can find this thing. So plate 23 has all the hygrophorus. Well, it's certainly not any of these. The cap's too light. Look how dark or bright colored. So this is just an example of what you do. You go to, after you go figure out which genus it's in, and there's several pages of hygrophorus. Okay, now look at this guy. Hygrophorus got kind of a yellow tinge on the cap a little bit. It's probably that one. But I would key it out in the special book. And no hygrophorus are poisonous. So. And the Peterson book is also good because it's got edibility notes. So if it's edible, it's got a little nice pot. If it is inedible but not poisonous, it's got a little cross, the pot's crossed off. But the deadly ones have skull and crossbones, which I think is fairly clear.
Which one did you pick? I'm looking in my book. Did you pick Hygrophorus chrysidon?
No, that's more yellow.
Yeah, we can't really see the cap on it.
No, we can't see the cap, but I think it's the Hygrophorus glycellus,
Okay.
slimy wax
I
cap.
don't have one.
Anyway, so that's just an example of how you would get to the species. Or if it's a hard one that's rare or something, mushrooms demystified will have it, but it's gonna ask you 50 questions. Okay, so I'm just giving you some examples of how to do it. So let's look at this next one. So again, I've told you it's got a white square print, so we're again on the first page. Okay. Now, you tell me what it is. Vulva, yes. Absolutely, it's an Amanita. And we see a lot of these. This is Amanita pantherina. This is all around too. And they're beautiful. They can be, you know, caps can be every color under the rainbow. Okay, this has a white square print. Yes, first question, the key, does it have a vulva? No. Is it ring present? No. Gills free? No. Well, don't even bother reading the rest. Go to the next one. Vulva absent. No vulva. Gills free from stalk? No, they're attached. So don't bother going over there. Gills attached to the stalk in some way? Yes. But are they thick and waxy and widely spaced? No, look how close they are. Okay, so then everybody following me? So then we go over to the right again. Gills thinner, yes. Or read the first one. Stem thick and brittle. Breaks evenly. Like I said with my hint, stem breaks evenly. So, does it have milky juice? No, there's nothing. When you damage the gills in any way, it'll exude a substance if it's the Lactarius. Both of these are in the same family, the Lactarius and the Russula. No milky juice, so it's a Russula. So, okay, guys are getting this. I know, it seems easy now, but keep persevering. Sometimes you go in the wrong direction, then you have to go back to the beginning and start over. I do that a lot, so don't feel bad. Okay, now this is a light brown square print. So we go to page 2 is still white. Page 3 is pink. This is light brown, so that's not it. Okay. Pale brown. Okay, So it's a pale brown sport, light brown sport print. Okay, so pale brown, same thing. So we're on key 4. Everybody got that? Okay, no stalk present. No, it's growing sideways, right into the tree. So it has a little stipe, but it's definitely not central like the other one previously. No stalk present or if present are strongly decurrent. Those are definitely decurrent gills. Okay? And then the next question asks, gills easily peel away from the caps. On wood or soil. This one was on wood, and they do peel easily. And it doesn't, see there's 2 different paxillus. One that grows sideways off center, and then one that goes straight down into the ground. Okay, so it's a paxillus. Okay, everybody got that? All right, let's go to try this one. Okay, white spore prints. We go to page 1 again, or key 1 rather. Okay, white spore print, but it has white latex. Okay, so start from the left. Vulva present. No. No vulva, true. Gills free from stalk. No, they're attached. Okay. Gills attached to stalk in some way, yes. Cap medium to large. That's pretty small to medium. So it doesn't have a large cap. Now the next one, gills thinner and closer together. They definitely are. Is the stem thick and brittle, breaks clean without fibers? It does if I would have broken it in half. So it's one of the 2 choices. It's a lactarius or a rusula, but this one has the milk, so it's a lactarius. So then when you go to the books to identify which lactarius, the color of the milk is going to be really important. So this one has white milk. So then you go further, go to the books and figure out what it is. All right. Now this one could be confusing. Again, it's got a white spore print. Okay, so this is a gigantic thing. So we'll go to the first one again, key 1. Vulva present. Definitely. But you can't see the ring yet because the cap hasn't opened up. See? So it could fool you. This is definitely an amanita. And it doesn't have the patches on the top. It doesn't always. Either the rain washes them away, or when it breaks cleanly, sometimes it doesn't leave patches. So that's an amanita.